Have you ever wondered why smart, totally rational people, or even entire companies, sometimes make choices that end up making everyone worse off? It's a real puzzle, right? And it happens way more than you'd think. Today, we're going to try and solve that cooperation puzzle.
You know, we're always told that cooperation is a good thing, that teamwork makes the dream work. But what if that's not always the case? What if I told you there are situations where, if you're just looking out for number one, the smartest possible move is to not cooperate? Let's figure out when.
All right, to get our heads around this, let me tell you a story. Let's meet our main characters, the infamous Bonnie and Clyde. Now, they've been captured, but the police only have enough evidence for a pretty minor charge. What the cops really want is to pin a massive bank robbery on them.
So here's where it gets interesting. The police pull them into separate rooms, no talking, no way to coordinate their stories, and they offer each of them the exact same deal. It all boils down to this. Do you stay silent and trust your partner, or do you confess and sell them out? Seriously, what would you do?
Okay, let's break this down. Put yourself in Bonnie's shoes for a second. Let's say Clyde keeps his mouth shut. Well, Bonnie can also stay silent, and they both get 1 year. Or she can confess and walk away completely free. Getting 0 years is obviously better. Now, what if Clyde confesses? If Bonnie stays silent, she's looking at a brutal 20-year sentence. But if she confesses too, she only gets 8. So you see, no matter what Clyde does, Bonnie's best personal move is always to confess.
And this right here, this has a name in game theory. It's called a dominant strategy. It's simply the move that gives you the best possible outcome no matter what the other person does. And in this game, for both Bonnie and for Clyde, confessing is their dominant strategy.
And this is the paradox. This is the mind-bending part. Because they both act rationally, because they both play their dominant strategy to protect themselves, they both confess, and they both get slapped with 8 years in prison. Just think about that. If they had somehow managed to cooperate, to trust each other and stay silent, they'd each be serving only 1 year. By trying to get the best deal for themselves, they ended up with a much worse deal for both of them.
Okay, so this is more than just a cool story about criminals. This exact same logic, this tension between doing what's best for you and what's best for the group is at the heart of how businesses make decisions every single day. We're talking about the price of gas, your cell phone bill, pretty much everything.
The economics term for this kind of market is an oligopoly, and you see them everywhere. Think about it. How many big airlines are there, or cell phone carriers? It's a small club, and that means any decision one company makes, like lowering its prices, has a massive, immediate impact on everybody else. It forces them all to think strategically, kind of like a high-stakes poker game.
And here's where we connect the dots. For the prisoners, cooperating meant staying silent. Defecting meant confessing. For companies in an oligopoly, cooperating means keeping prices high so they all make a good profit. Defecting means one of them decides to slash prices to try and steal away all the customers. It's the exact same game, just played with profits instead of prison sentences.
To make this crystal clear, let's simplify it even more. Imagine a town where there are only 2 people who sell water, Jack and Jill. This simple model, what economists call a duopoly, is the perfect way to see this tension in action.
So this table just shows us how the water market works in their town. It's pretty straightforward. The more water they pump out, the lower the price goes. But look closely. The sweet spot, the point where they make the most possible money together, is right here at $3,600. That happens when they sell a combined total of 60 gallons. That's the monopoly outcome.
So if they were smart and decided to cooperate, basically form a little cartel, they could agree to split that perfect monopoly outcome. Jack produces 30 gallons, Jill produces 30 gallons. Boom! They each walk away with a very nice profit of $1,800. This is the absolute best they can do together.
But then that little voice of self-interest starts whispering. Let's say you're Jack. Jill is holding up her end of the deal, producing just 30 gallons. You could do the same and make your $1,800, or you could secretly pump out 40 gallons. Sure, the overall price drops a bit, but your personal profit jumps up to $2,000. That temptation to break the agreement is powerful.
And of course, Jill is just as smart and self-interested as Jack is. So she's thinking the exact same thing. And what happens? They both defect. They both decide to produce 40 gallons. And they end up in this sticky situation called a Nash equilibrium. That's a point where neither of them can improve their own situation by changing their mind alone. They're locked in, and they're each making only $1,600.
So in the end, this constant tension means that oligopolies get stuck in this weird middle ground.
They can't quite get their act together to behave like a single monopoly and charge the highest prices, but they're also not in an all-out price war like you'd see in a truly competitive market. The result is a medium quantity and a medium price, an outcome that's better for them than pure competition, but almost always worse for us, the consumers.
And let's be clear, this isn't just a theory from a dusty old textbook. This game is being played out right now all over the world in some of the biggest industries on the entire planet.
I mean, the most famous example has got to be OPEC, the big oil cartel. They get together all the time and try to cooperate, agreeing to cut back oil production to keep prices high for everyone. But, just like Jack and Jill, every single member country knows that they could make a quick buck by secretly pumping a little more oil than they promised. It's a constant struggle to keep the deal from falling apart.
And this same logic pops up in some pretty surprising places. It helps explain the Cold War arms race. For both the US and the Soviet Union, the dominant strategy was always build more weapons, even though it made the whole world less safe. It also explains why we tend to overuse shared resources, like a common fishing ground. The dilemma is exactly the same.
You know, sometimes somebody just says the quiet part out loud. Back in the 1980s, the CEO of American Airlines got caught on a recorded phone call, and he perfectly described this exact frustration to his main competitor. He was just so sick of them getting into price wars. And then he just went for it. He made a direct and very, very illegal proposal to fix prices. That phone call is like the smoking gun, a perfect real-life example of a company trying desperately to escape the prisoner's dilemma.
So, because this kind of cooperation between companies is obviously really bad for all of us, it just means higher prices, governments have had to step in. Let's take a look at how they try to force these guys to actually compete. The big law in the United States is the Sherman Antitrust Act. It basically makes what that airline CEO tried to do a criminal offense. It flat out forbids competitors from getting together to agree on prices or to limit how much they produce. But actually enforcing these laws can be really complex. Regulators have to wade into all these gray areas and decide if a certain business practice is actually hurting consumers or if it's just a legitimate business strategy. Things like setting minimum retail prices or bundling products together, well, the line between smart business and illegal collusion can get pretty blurry. Which leaves us with this one final massive question. We've all heard of Adam Smith's invisible hand, the idea that everyone pursuing their own self-interest magically creates the best outcome for society. But in a world full of giant companies, all locked in this strategic game, is that invisible hand strong enough to protect us? Or does the prisoner's dilemma show us that without a referee on the field enforcing competition, we're the ones who always end up paying the price?